Right, so a couple of Pittsburgh assistants that I want to hit on, and I'll start off with Tom Arth. Tom Arth. So Tommy Arth, Tommy A, baby. So Tom Arth, as a football player, played at a lot of different places as a quarterback. He played for the Indianapolis Colts, went to John Carroll, so probably had a prolific career at John Carroll, St. Ignatius High School. So you're talking about maybe somebody that, probably knows Josh McDaniels. You're talking about somebody who might know Tom Telesco, somebody that might even know the general manager of the Houston Texans, Nick Caserio. So I'll have to go back and maybe check that timeline if I have time. All right. But put it this way, John Carroll, guys, that is known as the gospel of football coaches. The cradle of football coaches is in Ohio. And the Patriots hire a lot of John Carroll, people. That is known to be a pipeline there. John Carroll is very, very special. So he was at John Carroll as a football player. He set 18 records as a quarterback. So he was an elite level guy. Then he went to the Colts, and then I told you he bounced around quite a bit. Put it this way, as the head coach of John Carroll, the guy was an absolute rock star. He went 40-8 as the head coach of John Carroll. One conference championship at John Carroll as a head coach. At Chatanooga, he was okay, 9-13. Then went back up to his roots in Ohio. He flamed out miserably. Honestly, went 3-24 as a head coach. So he's been a head coach at a lot of different places, tried to climb the ranks as a head coach and didn't do well and failed. But that doesn't mean that you're done growing. Just like Arthur Smith, who in Atlanta couldn't break 7 wins and who didn't get the job done. Okay, I guess failing is a tough term because I wanted him to have one more year. And it wasn't like he won, two games at Atlanta. He still won 7 games with a rebuilding roster and then had one poor year when he had expectations this year. And again, didn't have the quarterback, didn't have a great wide receiver room, all of that. But John Arth, the thing that I like about him is that he looked at Kellen Moore last year. He's been a head coach before, so he knows how to handle an entire roster. And then he was the pass game specialist for the Chargers last year, where Keenan Allen went absolutely nuts. I mean, Keenan Allen was catching like 15 catches a game for 170 yards. And Herbert in that offense, was rolling. And Kellen Moore was a really, really interesting, with Doug Nussmeier, Kellen Moore was a really, really interesting offensive coordinator. I mean, he would run a lot of motions. Kellen Moore is kind of cutting edge. Brandon Staley, you could say a lot about Staley in the negative from his time of analytics, but you're going to learn something with Brandon Staley. You're going to get a different infusion of trying to, take in data and look at modernized football. And I guess the Herbert experience for that year, I wish it was more than 1 year, honestly. And now looking back on it, the fact that he was a head coach a while, like, being a head coach, a lot of times, you do get to call your own offensive plays, but you might not be taking in a lot of different influences or hiring outside influences into the staff. But clearly Pittsburgh and clearly Arthur Smith, there's something that, they saw in, his time with the Chargers or maybe his time really close to Ohio. And listen, it could really work. I mean, Drew Maringer is a coach at Oregon, and he's had some offensive coordinator stops with Tom Herman that didn't go that well. But as a tight ends coach, he's very, very good. So maybe the fact that you are a head coach and now you're an assistant, Arthur Smith and Tom Arth can relate to the time that they were head coaches. And the thing is, the thing I'm going to say is at Akron, okay, it didn't go very well, but at John Carroll, it did go well. So I wish that they hired maybe some, like Gerard Johnson, he's probably the coach that saw C.J. Stroud. it would have been nice. Maybe they got somebody from, I don't know. I'm trying to think of the best passing teams. Like Kellen Moore did like to throw the rock. So, I guess taking it from that passing tree, but I guess you could look at maybe the Chiefs pass it pretty good. The Bengals, like if you hired somebody from that offensive staff, but now, with Callahan leaving, so you start to kind of look at your options, and Arth might be one of your good options. Ben Johnson, maybe I would have looked at a quarterbacks coach in Detroit. But Tom Arth, the fact that, again, he doesn't really have experience with the Steelers or Arthur Smith, like this is an outside, hire. But it's somebody from the John Carroll tree that is probably highly, highly respected. So he's going to be, now the quarterbacks coach for Pickett. We'll see if they sign Rudolph again. And interesting hire. Like, I'm not going to say it's a slam dunk hire, but this guy worked with Justin Herbert. He was an elite quarterback at John Carroll. He played football overseas for many years as a quarterback. He was a head coach really he was a head coach of John Carroll, when he returned from his time playing as a young head coach. No, he was an offensive coordinator at Carroll. All right, that makes sense. OC then went in, the head coach was great. Decided to go to Chattanooga, try his time at a better job. Didn't work out. And then maybe Akron. Maybe you look at Akron, and I'm going to look at the record at Akron. It is not good. It is not good. Maybe that job in Akron is maybe just damn near impossible to win. So it wasn't great, but maybe Tom Arth will admit that. Anyway, he's going to be a quarterbacks coach. So he's qualified for this position. He really is. And he worked with Herbert. He's qualified. And that's why I'm excited, because of head coaching experience, but also working with Herbert and no real influences inside of Canada or the Steelers. So let's see how this works. All right, Tommy Arth, Pittsburgh.